Back in uni, there was a girl who I used to fancy. She had an SUV, and we used to talk about random things inside her car while parked around campus. One night, we were parked underneath a large mango tree in a large parking lot. It's very dim, and the only lights are from the institute about 100 meters away. As we're talking, she stopped mid-sentence. In a very panicky voice, she asked if we could continue talking somewhere else. In her panic to flee the parking lot, she forgot to turn on her headlights. We were stopped by uni police for a bit. We parked at a different spot, near the main road where things are lit by lampposts. She then proceeds to ignore me as she switches the AC from warm to cold, back and forth. I asked her what she was doing. Apparently she was trying to fog up the windshield, to no avail. I asked her why, and she pointed at the corner of the windshield right in front of me. There, on the glass, was a small footprint, about 12 centimeters long, 5 toes, full heel. I panicked a little bit, thinking she implanted that earlier to prank me. I tried scrubbing it, but it was outside of the glass. We were obviously spooked. I asked if that was why she left in a hurry, to which she answered no. She said she saw a small hand on top of the windshield planted firmly on the glass. We just figured that parking lot was pretty haunted. Cut to a few years later, already graduated from uni and already working, my friend has a pickup truck as his service vehicle. One night, we were looking for places to eat. After dinner at a noodle store, we hop in the car as I noticed something. I didn't want to start on my friend, so I asked him to be calm when I told him. On the windshield is a small footprint. He freaked out a bit as he remembers a story I told him years ago. The footprint is small again and only visible when lit by oncoming traffic. We were both looking at it, and it is indeed a foot. This time I tried to scrub it again. My finger felt like swiping on dust. The footprint itself was made out of dust that seemed to coalesce to form a small foot. I was starting to freak out that maybe it's following me. About a year later, I was at a girlfriend's house. It's in a gated community in the woods. That night, we were watching The Shape of Water on their TV. I strongly advise not to watch it with your significant other's parents in the room. After the movie, we went upstairs to her room. As I carried her upstairs, I stopped and noticed something on the steps. The stairs were looking into the living room where we were. On the dust that collected between the rail posts were 2 small footprints. It was facing directly at the couch we sat on. It's as if an infant stood there watching us. No footprints leading to it, no markings leading out. It just appeared there. I never told the girlfriend this because she scares easily, and I don't want her to think that her home is occupied by unknown things. I've been hearing voices and different things in my home for about a month now. At first, I thought I was just sleep deprived. I worked night shifts as a nurse, or that my boyfriend was messing with me, but now I'm starting to get really freaked out. I'll try to explain things the best I know how. A little background. My boyfriend and I rent his grandma's house and live here with our big 3 dogs that bark at everything. The dogs will be important in a second, so just hang on. His grandma used to live there too, but she moved out last year, so it's just us 2 and the dogs. His grandpa died 2 years ago, and his ashes are spread in the garden in the backyard. My mum died 4 years ago, and we have her ashes in a box on our mantel above the fireplace. His brother died this year in January, a mile up the road after leaving our house. Our house is in a small neighbourhood that only has 1 street, and it's considered the country, but they're doing construction on the main road right by our house to build up the area, so it's not really the country anymore. The first time I can remember really hearing something that stood out to me was about a month ago. I was cleaning the house in the middle of the day while my boyfriend was at work. I usually play music pretty loud when I clean, but the dog started barking, so I walked out to the living room to tell them to hush, and they're all staring at one of our guest rooms. The door was closed and we never go in there for anything. It's barely a guest room, it's more of a place we keep random things that we can't find a place for. I walk in there and don't see anything, so just go back to cleaning. A little bit later, I hear a voice say, "Hi friend." I immediately freeze and walk into the living room and look around. I don't see anybody, and the windows were all closed in the house. I text my boyfriend and ask if he just talk to me through a camera we've set up on our mantle. You can talk through an app, and we sometimes use it to talk to our dogs when we're not home. And he said he didn't. And I look and our camera is unplugged. Then tonight I'm home by myself and my boyfriend is at a friend's house. I'm feeding the dogs and taking the trash out, just clearing up. I hear a whistle and then someone say hi. All the dogs' ears perked up and their heads all turn in the same direction. I text my boyfriend and tell him, and he tells me to get the dogs and go to our room and grab our shotgun and just wait for him to get home. He gets home and checks the whole house and backyard and doesn't see anything or anyone. There have been a few other things, but those are the two big ones that have made me truly scared where I go and sit in our room and wait for him to get home. We recently stayed at a newly remodeled resort north of Houston, Texas. We had a 2-room suite that included a master bedroom for the wife and I, and a separate living room with a pull-out couch for our 2 kids. The flooring was comprised of composite vinyl wood-look planks that made a distinct click and peel sound when walking barefoot. On the first night of our trip, I awoke before first light at around 5:30 in the morning to the sound of our children whispering in the other room. I also heard what sounded like 2 sets of feet walking gently around our bed. Anticipating an incoming prank, I sat up quickly to counter the attack, but was met with only a dark, empty bedroom and an adrenaline-fueled heart. The whispering abruptly stopped. I fell back into my side and groggily pulled the alarm clock into view. It was much too early for our late-sleeping kids to be awake, especially on vacation. I got up to use the restroom, and to my surprise, they were soundly asleep. While in the bathroom, I was thinking about what just happened and started feeling a bit spooked. I distinctly remembered that clicky, sticky noise coming from the floor and the clear sounds of 2 voices whispering. Was I dreaming? My thoughts then morphed to something even more unsettling. Someone may have entered our room. Someone may still be in our room. I opened the bathroom door, letting light fill the bedroom. Taking a good look around, I saw nothing out of place, nor any signs of intrusion. My wife gave me a grumble, so I shut off the lights, calmed my nerves, and laid back down with my back into the open room. The minute I stopped moving and my body was settled, I felt and heard a firm tap on the pillow directly behind my head, as if someone flicked it. Thoroughly spooked, I crawled into my wife like a small child while goosebumps travelled across my entire body. I told her what I encountered. She said that was really strange because she also heard the kids whispering around 3:30, asking them why they were still up and told them to quiet down. Without a response from them, the whispering stopped. She recalled it seeming weird because it didn't sound like them, but it was definitely coming from their room and felt mischievous. I got up and turned on multiple lights while swiftly doing a more thorough sweep of the securely locked room, checking beneath beds, in closets, and behind curtains. All to no avail. The kids continued sleeping right through the disruption. It took us some time to calm down after I clambered back to bed. I told my wife it felt as though there was an intruder in our room, but I couldn't find them. We contemplated many other possibilities, but couldn't identify a viable explanation for the occurrences. I don't focus on the paranormal and have had little to no experience with it throughout my 43 years on this earth. Not sure what that was, but it sure was strange. About 20 years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I worked as a window coverings installer in Sacramento, California. One day, I was sent with a large load of metal mini blinds to an active veterans hospital off Highway 50. I met the lead maintenance man, who thankfully loaned me a rolling cart to help make transporting my materials and tools a much easier chore. He then led me into the building, through a maze of corridors and up a large service elevator. As we exited the elevator, I was pleasantly greeted with a completely empty hospital wing. I was really happy to see that I had the entire floor to myself, no patients, staff, or furniture to constrain my mission. I could work quickly without obstruction or distraction. The maintenance man explained how they just completed some seismic retrofits while pointing to some newly constructed drywall columns that concealed the brunt of their work. He said they took the opportunity to make cosmetic repairs, install new blinds, and give the place a much needed paint job. He then showed me a typical patient room and said there should be one blind for every window on the floor. He told me he would leave me to it and give him a call if I needed anything or when I was ready to leave. Last thing he said in a concerned fatherly voice before entering the elevator was, "You sure you're going to be alright up here?" I responded absolutely in my best confident young man's voice. With a departing handshake, he entered the elevator cab. His question and its tone oddly hung with me as the doors closed and the whirl of the old elevator faded into a deafening silence. It was at that moment that I was truly able to take in my surroundings. With the elevator to my back, I scanned the hospital wing in a clockwise direction. I was standing in the middle of a long rectangular room. Light and airy patient rooms filled the perimeter of the open room to my left. As I scanned right, the light quickly faded into an inky, opaque blackness that disappeared into a dark, U-shaped corridor, which after a short distance made a sharp right and another sharp right to the end up back where I started. Despite the new paint, the place looked like it exited a time machine around 1950, with those pea-green ceramic walls and matching asbestos vinyl floor tiles. It was at that moment I realised this place was creepy as fuck. But enough of that, I had a job to do and got right to work. First things first, I walked the entire perimeter to get a quick survey of where things were located, popping my head into each room as I passed. As I got to the dark hallway, my bravery waned. Due to the lack of light, I presume there must not have been any windows to address, but I pushed on nevertheless to be thorough. As the dark engulfed me, it felt like someone plugged me into an electrical socket. I had never before or since felt the energy that surged my body and immediately picked up my pace. Along both sides of the corridor were black rooms. After peeking in one, I abandoned my efforts for the absolute certainty that I was about to come face to face with something I didn't want to see. I began to full-on run the rest of the distance until I was back in the main hall. Luckily, there was only one room within the dark corridor that had a blind I needed to install. The entire time I was back there, it felt like I had 1,000 spectators, and I kept my eyes fixated on the doorway until I was done. The rest of my time in that wing, I was nervously on edge. The farther from the dark corridor I got, the slightly more at ease I became. However, I kept hearing distinct footsteps, bangs, knocks, a bucket being kicked and slid across the floor, muffled voices and a phantom intercom that sounded like an old movie. With 100% certainty, all these noises originated around me on that wing, despite there being no one present. With each noise, I would pop my head out into the main hall or say, "Hello?" in what I'm sure was an uneasy voice. About halfway through the install, I finally stopped reacting until I heard, "Hello? Cayucoast?" and froze. It was the maintenance man, and I was super stoked to see him. He asked me how things were going and if anything eventful had happened. Not wanting to sound kooky, I sheepishly brought up some of the noises I was hearing. He abruptly said, "No place, this place is haunted as fuck. I wouldn't work up here alone." He explained to me that the hospital had been an active war hospital dating back to the 1940s, and there had been thousands of deaths in the operating rooms that lined that dark corridor. He also mentioned that an electrician walked out earlier that week after something ran up behind him and growled. We joked around a bit to ease the tension, and then he left me alone once again. The rest of the day was surprisingly uneventful. Things seemed to have calmed down and I felt more calm. I do remember never feeling more relieved to leave a place behind, but also being completely exhausted that afternoon and crashing out to sleep early that evening. To this day, this remains the strangest experience of my life. So I'm laying in bed right now, and my cat was sat on the windowsill. I was playing on my phone, like I am now, and I heard someone walk past my bedroom door, but I thought nothing of it, as it's an old building, and sometimes it sounds like people are walking around, shuffling, even creaking, even though the hallway is carpet. Well, anyway, like I said, my concentration was on my phone when I heard someone whisper something I couldn't make out, and then a few pss 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 noises you make to a cat when you want them to come to you. I looked towards the window and noticed it was closed, so the noise did not come from outside. My cat jumped straight off the windowsill and dived straight onto the bed and climbed on me, but staring at the doorway next to the bed. I was unable to get her attention by stroking her or saying her name. She was just fixated with the doorway. There is a spooky part of the hallway that is always darker than the other parts near the bathroom door, where I feel like I'm being watched when I either go to or from the bathroom. Then I feel as if I'm being followed back to the bedroom. Once I saw a head peek around the bedroom door, but quickly disappeared when I took a look. No strange encounters happen in my bedroom, just the hallway. Also, sitting in the living room, you can see into the kitchen and out of the corner of our eyes. Both me and my partner have said it looks like someone walks past. Our cat is mainly chilled out, but sometimes goes absolutely bonkers, running around the flat, bouncing off the walls, as if she's being chased. It's a very old town I live in, with a lot of buildings dating back to the 1800s, maybe earlier. The downstairs used to be a shop. I don't know what shop, but it used to be, because the outside looks exactly like the other shops on the road, but ours has been redesigned to be a 5 flats. I have a little gated community, with all the front doors around the back. It's in England, Cheshire. I've been having a few strange dreams at the moment, and my partner keeps having dreams of her friend that passed away 3 years ago. I've tried to look online about the history of the street we live on, but I found nothing. Same with the building. This happened when I was around 10 years old. We had gone to my nanny's house, my paternal grandma's, for our summer vacation. I'd say those 2 months spent in my nanny's house were one of the clearest memories of my childhood, especially because of this incident. In my nanny's village, we have those huge bygone plantation that give the look of a forest. In fact, these plantations began from my nanny's backyard and extended to a large land. Back then, they had bamboo plantations, not now. So, around 1 month into our stay, there was a wedding in the neighbourhood. My parents, cousins, uncles, aunts and my grandpa were all occupied with it. After my elder brother was busy with our cousins and brothers. This left me alone with Nanny because I wasn't feeling well at the time, so Nanny stayed back with me. We were not practically alone. We had a few of my distant aunts in the house, but I didn't know them well, so I was glued to my Nanny. It was night time, the lanterns were lit and hanged on the poles of the front yard. A very dim bulb was lighting in one of the rooms. We had a cot made of bamboo in our front yard. Nanny sat on that bamboo cot with me in her lap. We could hear the muffled wedding band music from a distance, but the cricket's noise in the background was louder than that. Everything was shrouded with darkness, except for the area our lanterns lit. It was a perfect place for my 10-year-old self to fall asleep. Even though it was summer, the wind of the night did that easily. And so began my nap. I didn't know for how long I was asleep, but I woke up when I heard someone whispering in my ear. I thought it said my name. To be honest, I don't really remember what the word was, but I'm sure I thought it was my name back then. I opened my eyes and realised Nanny was not on the cot with me. Everything was the same around me, except I was alone on the front yard. Then I heard it saying something again. I stood on the cot to peek inside the house to see where Nanny went, and that's when I got it. I heard the voice again from the back of the house. I could also hear trees grinding across each other in the back of the house as if there was a storm, but the weather was extremely light that night. I decided to see who it was. I'm not even kidding, my 10-year-old self was stupid, I'd give myself that. I got down from the cot and headed towards the backyard. For context, you don't really have to get inside the house to go to the backyard. You can just pass the side door and you'll be there. I was really sportive back then and wasn't really afraid of dark, just like a normal kid. I took it as a game, thinking one of my cousins was calling me. I didn't even take a lantern. I decided to just walk and shout, "Kia hai, what do you want?" Down the path, I reached the backyard and began shouting. It was somewhat greyish dark in there. I shouted, "Kia hai," again, and that was when I saw someone peeking from behind one of the long bamboo shoots. I'm actually getting goosebumps from thinking how clear that picture is in my mind till now. It was a black figure, tall to be precise, its height matched with the bamboo shoot it stood next to. I shouted the same thing for the 5th time. There was no movement from its side. The backyard that extended into large green land, dark at the time, suppressed all the noises. And as I said, the wind was strong in the backyard. Stronger in comparison to what the weather was on that night. I was now feeling a tinge of fright in my body. I could register how stupid of a decision it was to come here all alone. I didn't shout this time and tried to retrace my path to get back to the front yard. I took one step back and I swear I heard the rumbling of leaves, as if it was stepping ahead. I took another step back and it moved ahead again. I froze at that moment. I was scared shitless. I was heavily sweating by then. I shut my eyes tightly, and that was when someone grabbed me from behind. It was my nanny, with a lantern in her hand. She scolded me for going alone in the backyard. I opened my eyes and hugged her. I started crying and directed my finger towards the bamboo shoot. She took the lantern there and found no one. Whatever it was gone. She picked me up in her lap and took me inside the house. I was still crying. She told me she heard me shouting and followed my voice. Nanny freshened me up, and when I was able to talk, she asked me what that was all about. I narrated everything to her, and she asked me twice whether I was dreaming what I heard and saw and just sleepwalked in the backyard. I kept saying no in my defense. And then she told me she hadn't heard a child complaining of it in many years. She told me to never go back in the backyard ever again, even if it's noon. After I implored her continuously for an hour, she told me that it might be Ba's bamboo ghost. She said there was a legend famous when she was a kid, and many children complained of being haunted by it. It only scared weak children, those who were easy to attack. It lures the weak children to its bamboo shoots and then makes them trip and fall. The concerning thing was that children could die by tripping on those shoots. She revealed that she heard of it last when she was a kid. And then after all those years, she heard it from me. She even debated to herself that it might have been a dream. We had other kids in the household and they never complained about it. She declared I was a really weak kid and I could have died that night. That's why she asked me not to go to the bamboo garden, even in noon. I couldn't sleep that night. I forgot about the incident with my nanny's impression of the possibility of it being a dream. But this left me with a perpetual fear of darkness. Just a few years back, we heard they got the bamboo plantation removed. That was when I got reminded of it again, and all the memories came flooding back. I looked it up and found a few legends about the bamboo ghost, famous in Bihari and Bengali culture. And the experiences were a striking match with mine. I don't even know what to say about it. It might really be a nightmare or hallucination. The clock just hit midnight, and I don't think I'll be able to sleep tonight with what happened. I'm normally pretty skeptical, but I just feel like this isn't something I can debunk, and I need to know what to do to feel more safe, because I think the spirit here isn't friendly. I think it's all related to the apartment I currently live in, because I've never had paranormal stuff happen to me before. Thankfully, I'm moving out in a month. I've been living here for 2 years now. The first red flag, the only thing the previous owners left me was a Ouija board, hidden in our bedroom closet. When I found it, I had bad vibes, and had to put it on my balcony so it was outside the place. After that, I felt watched at night and had trouble sleeping. Then things got back to normal, until the last few weeks. First, I was all alone doing some cleaning, and the light bulb in my kitchen completely exploded, leaving shattered glass all over the floor. Right after, there was a big bang on my fridge, like someone just hit it. Then I thought I heard something like a faucet running in my bedroom. I was already scared, so I walked super slowly to it. And then my bedroom door, right next to the bathroom, slammed itself, making an awfully loud sound. I was terrified and went to my mom's house for the rest of the day. I tried to tell myself it was just a shortcut, maybe a breeze from the open window that made the noise, but it wasn't even windy. It doesn't make sense. I've had trouble sleeping. Random objects found on the floor, and I blamed it on my cat. until last week I heard something wiggling an object and throwing it on the floor. I said my cat's name out loud to ground her, before I realised she was right next to me. And then, 2 days ago, my long mirror fell on my bed. It didn't break. It's a pretty lightweight mirror, so I just lean on my bedroom's wall. I found it weird, but also it could have been the wind. But what just happened tells me it wasn't a coincidence. I was watching a horror movie for the first time in months tonight. I was really scared. All the lights were off. During the middle of the movie, I saw what looked like a shadow in my living room mirror. I brushed it off because I'm just too anxious. And then, boom. Before the end of the movie, the living room mirror that's been hanging there for 2 years decides to fall off. No open windows, no nothing. I'm surprised it didn't break, honestly. It was a pretty big fall. On top of that, my cat's freaking out and staring at some stuff I don't see. I'm so uneasy. I heard mirrors were like portals, so I took the 2 that fell and I hid them, facing the floor. I don't have sage to clear out the energy. What do I do to make this thing go away? To be safe? I know I only have a month left, but still. Since my fiance started working second shift, I started having my 3-year-old and 1-year-old sleep in bed with me. Something scary happened last Tuesday, around 11:30 at night. My son CJ woke up from his sleep, crying and scared. I asked what's wrong, and he wouldn't stop pointing at the corner. I used my phone flashlight, which wasn't really helping because the corner was still dark. He's never freaked out that bad before, so I started getting scared. I FaceTimed my fiance, and you know how you FaceTime someone and your flashlight turns off when they pick up? Yeah, when the flashlight went out, CJ was freaking out bad. Then he started acting like whatever he was seeing at the corner of the room was moving closer to the end of our bed. The way you can see the terror in his eyes as his eyes were slowly moving with its movements towards us at the end of the bed, as if it was moving closer to us. CJ was freaking out so bad, scrambling to the corner of the bed, trying to get away from it. He wouldn't stop screaming for me, even though I was trying to help him. I was getting terrified myself, so I turned on the TV. He calmed down a bit, but I had to click on the app KidsTube, and as it was loading up, the screen went dark. Once the room went dark again, CJ started freaking out worse at whatever he was looking at the end of our bed. I finally got his favourite cartoon on, and he finally calmed down and cuddled up with me. He started watching TV until he eventually fell back to sleep. But oh my god, when small kids see something, you've just gotta believe them. I was so scared I left the TV on until my fiance got back from work. CJ sometimes wakes up from a night terror and be pointing at the corner, but I usually cuddle back with him to sleep. That stopped for months. Then, out of nowhere, last Tuesday night, it was like something new showed itself to my son. And this is the same corner my 1-year-old daughter used to smile and laugh with. But this is the worst CJ has ever freaked out. Since that night, almost every single night, he would wake up at 11:30, crying and scared, looking at something. It makes it more legit because it's consistently on time every night. It never fails to show up on time and scare my child. Like, why 11:30? Why is this terrorizing my son? I'm more concerned now because last night at 11:30, my son woke up scared and crying, but was answering yes to whatever he was looking at the end of our bed. I believe he's seeing something that's terrorizing him. My mom has a history of seeing spirits. She can walk into a house and take her time reading the place to know what kind of spirits and how many are in the home. My older brother has a history of experiencing weird shit too, so I know my son is gifted because it runs in his blood. But I want this to stop. It's the bedroom of the house, I know it is. The house has been in my fiance's family for over a few decades. His niece, who's 18 years old now, used to talk to someone in that exact bedroom when she was small. His nephew, who's 5 years old now, used to call someone by the name Abby in the exact same room. And my fiance's little brother, who's 24 now, used to ask his parents about the old man in the bedroom when there was no old man. My fiance says they've gotten monks to bless the home so many times already. You probably won't see this, but we call those things in Islam and Arabic as jinn. They are basically ghosts, but they are not spirits or souls of dead people. I was always confused on how other people were scared of a soul of a dead person instead of a demon or something. They are different beings. Babies or children and animals can see and feel them when they are not hiding themselves, and they can shapeshift like an illusion or something and change their voice and give you dreams or nightmares. I remember two encounters I had with them. The first was when I was maybe 4 or something, with my 6-year-old brother, and our house was small. We were in the bedroom on the bed with our mother getting ready to sleep, and suddenly we heard marks of scraping. We looked up and saw a mark of 3 nails or 3 lines being made on the ceiling with the sound. Our mother hugged us tightly. They continued about 7 centimeters, then stopped. You might say it's something on the roof or etc. Most, if not all, Arab houses are made with thick concrete or stone blocks which are filled, and the marks were made inside. The next day, when my mother reported the encounter to our father, he said that a couple days ago he felt an urge to wake up from sleep at night, which he did, and saw a small imp-like shadow that quickly darted out of the room as if floating super fast. The door was open a little. For the next couple years or months that we stayed in that house, I woke up to those marks in the ceiling every morning, and to this day, my big brother and mother remember this event. Second encounter was in a new, bigger house. I was laying on my stomach watching TV at the bottom right edge of the bed, and the door was open to my right. In the corner of my eye, I saw a hairless, browless white person slowly sticking one of his eyes out to peek in the room. I turned my eyes just in time to look at him, in the eyes. Then he pulled back super fast. I jumped out of bed and looked into the hallway immediately to see that no one was there. I went to my mom because she was the only white person in the house. She was quite far away in a room at the end of the balcony, ironing clothes, and I asked her, "Mom, were you spying on us?" She replied with no. I don't remember what she said exactly, but I knew my mother when she was lying. Also, she would have made a lot of noise because I checked the hallway very fast. She has a heavy footstep. My little brother told me he once saw my mother heading towards the ironing room and was following her and calling her, but she ignored him and walked fast. He couldn't see her face and she entered the ironing room. Then he went in front of the door and saw no one inside of the room. He peeked his head without entering and found nothing. He felt uneasy entering the room alone, and Mom disappeared, so he walked away.